Welcome to the Tell Me Something Good podcast. Ranked by the International Association of Awesome Podcasts as the best podcast in the history of podcasts. Wait, is that a thing? I don't think that's a thing. Anyway, seeking to shine a light on all that is good in an ever-darkening world of negativity. Here's your host, Clint Swindall.
Hey everybody, I'm Clint Swindall, and this is the Tell Me Something Good podcast, the show that is all about creating a more positive world by overcoming negativity. It is my goal each episode to engage your mind, encourage your heart, or enlighten your soul. I am so happy you are here. This is episode number 10 of the Tell Me Something Good podcast, entitled Room for Improvement, brought to you by Let's Talk Smack, an app that provides daily nudges to take your social media game to a whole new level. If you're wanting to have a more engaging presence on social media, either personally or professionally, you need a plan, and the Let's Talk Smack app can help you develop your plan. Check it out wherever you get your apps. Each episode, I encourage listeners to share something good. I do that because I really want to hear what good things are happening in your life. And I do that because I want to share the good stuff I hear with others. I love sharing on this podcast what I've learned about positive psychology, and I love sharing good news because I don't think we get nearly enough of it. And I love talking with good people out doing good things because I think there are a lot of awesome people making a real difference in the world. One of those people making a real difference in the world reached out at findthegoodinlife.com and shared something good. I'm excited to have her on the show today. So, pour yourself a cup of coffee and get ready for a great conversation. Before I bring her on, I want to ask you a question. Do you remember your bedroom growing up? What was it like? Did you have posters of your favorite actors or sports professionals? Did you have pictures with your friends and family? I asked my wife Heather about the memory she has of her bedroom growing up. She said she remembers it being cotton candy pink. She shared the room with her older sister, and they had a little bitty black and white TV. She said they had a poster of teen heartthrob Sean Cassidy. She smiled as she shared those memories of the safest place a child should have, the most comfortable place a child should have, their bedroom. My guest today recognizes that is often not the case for children who have been abandoned or abused. You see, abuse often occurs in a child's own room, causing the child to link the room to feelings of fear and aversion. My guest today runs a nonprofit that is changing that for kids. They are having a positive impact by giving children new rooms in which they can feel comfortable and safe. My guest today is Susie Vybiral, the CEO of Room Redux. Welcome to the show and welcome to Tell Me Something Good.
Thank you, Clint. It's so wonderful to be here with you.
Well, I'm thrilled to have you on the Tell Me Something Good podcast, and let me start by telling our listeners how you even got here. So each week I encourage people to go to findthegoodinlife.com to share their good stuff. We've had some really nice comments shared there. We've had some supportive comments shared there, and you did that, and it inspired me to do some research about your organization. And I was intrigued and thought, we should have you come on the podcast to tell our listeners what good you are doing in the world. So let's start there. Tell us about what you're doing.
I love that, Clint. Thanks. So I am CEO and founder of Room Redux, and we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we anonymously transform the rooms of children who have faced sexual and physical abuse, and we do it in one day.
You do the entire renovation in one day?
Yes, sir. It's fun.
So when you say anonymously, tell me how that works.
Well, we get our referrals from counselors, CPS caseworkers, communities and schools, law enforcement. We want to make sure that the child or children, that they're in counseling for that trauma. So we like to remain anonymous to the child. We, of course, do make contact with the caregiver or the parent because we have to set a time to assess the room and find out all about the child and how we should design the room. But on transformation day, we leave before the child gets home from school or home from an outing. And we do that because we truly feel that these children need to know that the world is not such a scary place and that there are people in the world who care about them and expect nothing from them.
So they literally don't know, number one, about Room Redux, but number two, they don't even know you or the people who went in and did the work.
Exactly. People care about them who don't even know them. And caregivers often ask, what do I tell her? Or what do I tell him? And I tell them, you can say whatever you like. You can say that you did it.
Talk about doing it in about as big a biblical way as you possibly can. Scripture is pretty clear that when we do these good things, we have two choices. We can get our recognition for that here, or we can get our recognition later. And it sounds to me like the entire Room Redux model is one that says we're not here for the attaboys, we're not here for the pats on the back. We're here to let the public know what we're doing so that they can support our efforts, either through monetary donations or volunteer donations. But we don't have any desire for the kids to know who we are, because that's not what it's about.
Exactly. And, volunteers, they will ask, do we get to see the children? Do we get to see their reaction? And I say, no, we do not. Very often, the parent or the caregiver will send me a picture of the child or the children or a video, but it's not something that I share or post. Obviously, everything's very confidential.
Can you recall a particular child that your efforts had a really significant impact and it really touched your heart? But it sounds like more than likely you wouldn't.
Well, actually, we ask the family to write up a family impact statement because we do like to know how it's impacted the child and how it's impacted their family overall. And I have wonderful stories. One of the rooms that we transformed, the mother told me that her 15-year-old daughter had not slept in her room for 5 years, would not have friends over, didn't feel comfortable, wasn't sleeping well. And after her room transformation, it's the shabby chic room transformation. You can see it on our website or on Facebook. She started sleeping in her room with her dream catcher art that we made. She said that her bad dreams were gone and she didn't feel like her perpetrator was going to walk in at any moment. She started having sleepovers. So it completely changed her environment and her mindset.
That is absolutely incredible that you're able to have that kind of an impact on a child. I was talking to my wife just the other day about it, and I said, when I think about my childhood growing up and I think about my room, the posters that hung on my wall, I think about the memories in that space. That's a child's safe space. And the thought
Yes.
that someone has come along in the life of these children and taken away that opportunity to have that memory, in fact, to do just the opposite and to create memories that a child doesn't want to ever remember in that very safe space of a bedroom is it's heartbreaking.
It is. And they deserve to know that they are worthy. They stand a little taller. They change. From the feedback that I get from caregivers is phenomenal, that that it not only changes the child, but also, like I said, the family. And that's why we remain advocates in their life. We will check in every few months or so just to see how they're doing. And part of our model is years down the road, once that 5-year-old boy is, say, a teenager, perhaps they need new decor. They've grown out of cars or whatever
Superman or whatever it is.
Yeah, Superman, whatever it is. And so we would love to help them then if they are in need of help.
I'm just curious, of all of the causes that you could have selected, why did you decide to start Room Redux?
That's a great question. Well, I adore children, and it may sound cliche, but they really and truly are our future. And I'm actually getting my doctorate in psychology, so I know the psychological effects of all types of abuse on children, how it changes their future, and how the cycles begin. And part of Room Redux is that breaking the cycle of abuse, whether it's physical abuse, neglect, sexual abuse. We want to break those cycles. So when you look at the statistics in Texas, 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys are sexually abused before the age of 18. Now, that's people that we know. Those are our friends, our relatives, us. It's staggering.
It is.
And Room Redux is the happy part. we get to transform a room. We get to see the before and after. We know that these children are getting both parts of the healing puzzle, the counseling and a new environment, a fresh start.
Of all the different ways that you could have contributed in the space of taking care of children, knowing they are our future, of all the different ways, what inspired you to focus on the room?
When it's the end of the day and you get home, the first thing you want to do is kick off your shoes and relax in your space. You want it to be secure. You want it to be comfortable, and you want it to be yours, whether you're an adult or you're a child. So these children, very often, they have hand-me-down furniture. They don't have what maybe our children had growing up, and they deserve these things.
So I was looking at your website and I saw that you obviously are in New Braunfels,
Yes.
but that you also have locations around the country. Tell me how it's grown from New Braunfels, Texas to other parts of the nation.
It has just exploded. And part of it, I believe, is because there is no nonprofit that does just this. And it is also very tangible. People can, like I said, see the before and after. They can put their hands on it. The volunteers, they come away feeling so elated that they actually did something. Even the volunteers get to learn how to put down flooring or paint, things like that. So it's a positive, it's a win-win in all of those areas. Last year, we were featured as Skimmer of the Week on The Skim, which is an online news source. And I woke up on August 22nd to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of emails from people all across the world wanting to know more about Room Redux, wanting to volunteer, wanting to know if we had chapters in their area. I woke up to donations, which was wonderful because we do rely on donations and grants. So several people I wrote and said, if you would like to start a chapter in your area, please contact me. And people did. It's absolutely amazing. So we have,
Wow.
yeah, and yes, New Braunfels, Texas is world headquarters, but we have 2 chapters starting in California. We have one in Denver, Colorado, New York, Minnesota, Georgia, Austin, and we have now Florida and Louisiana that are just getting started.
Do you have a certain number of designs that you do across the board, or do you literally look at every child and start from scratch on that design?
We start from scratch every single time. When I go and assess the room, I'll ask the parent or the caregiver a variety of questions. What is his favorite color? What colors does he hate? What are her hobbies? What animals do they like? What would they like in their room? Maybe they would like a TV or an Xbox, things like that. And so each room is very specifically tailored to that child. We even put in therapeutic tools. I'll speak with a counselor and find out what the child is using in counseling, maybe squishies for anger issues or a water feature, for calming, things like that. So every room is very particular, very specific, and we give each room a name. We don't want to throw the children's names around. So every single room has a different name, which is really fun coming up with those. So when I walk into the room and I see what they have, I take pictures, we measure, and I ask all of those questions, and then I start to visualize in my mind how this room will look.
Tell me about the origin of the name.
One of the reasons we didn't name it something like Rooms for Tots or Rooms for Children is because we thought, well, if there is a situation where perhaps a mother is being abused or was abused, and if we have the funding, it would be nice to be able to give her something new as well in her room.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's kind of general. But Redux it's an English word. It's not French. People like to say redo, but it's not. It's Redux. That's why we always say we transform rooms. We don't say we redo rooms, but it means a transurgence, a coming back, almost like a revival.
So when you go out and you look for volunteers, are you looking for volunteers who simply provide manual labor to move in furniture, or are you looking for people who have the ability and the skill to make furniture, to do that kind of physical labor as well?
We ask that whoever wants to volunteer with Room Redux, they just come on. Like I said, people have learned how to paint. People have learned how to use a skill saw if they need to cut things, or if we're doing flooring. And that's what's so amazing about it. People are able to get their hands in and really work. But we also say, if you are good at folding clothes, you can come do that too, because we have to transfer the clothing to the new dresser. Uh, Organizing, we need people who organize. We need people who would like to go pick up lunch. We welcome everybody.
So, do you have a ballpark figure that you know every time we go in to do a room, it's going to cost about X?
It does fluctuate depending on the shape of the room, what we're going to have to do. The cost is between $1,500 and $2,000.
Okay.
When we get things donated, then of course it lowers the cost. So, for instance, locally, CertaPro painters, they donate all the paint. So we get our paint from Sherwin-Williams, and it's all free. And we
Nice.
also partner with New Braunfels Flooring, who here, in New Braunfels, they either donate the flooring or we get it at very, very, very low cost. So that's what all of our chapters are doing too. They're looking to partner with businesses who want to help essentially transform the lives of children.
So obviously it took some inspiration on your part to create the organization. You saw a need, you chose to step up and fill that need, and you're doing that today. I'm just curious, who's been the biggest influence in your life that led you to want to do something like this?
The first person that comes to my mind is my mother, because she is a very strong, beautiful, wonderful woman. And also her mother, who she had a family of 5 children with, and lived with an abusive husband, and she left that abusive situation. She had the strength to do that alone with 5 young children. So to me, that is very, very empowering. And the fact that there was abuse in the home, it solidifies the fact that things like this need to be done, that environments and fresh starts they're imperative for us to thrive, and especially if you're a child.
You obviously, all the way from the beginning of this call, have a very positive demeanor and a very welcoming demeanor and a very huge heart for what it is that you're doing for kids in need.
Thank you.
Right now, we don't live in the most positive world. In fact, we live in a very negative world. How do you stay positive in that negative world?
It's always been easy for me. My father is very positive, and he instilled that in me. So I've always focused on the positive. And honestly, I don't watch the news. I see things on Facebook, or, I engage in discussion about things, but I refuse to focus on the negative. I know who is on the throne,
Mm.
and I know that this too shall pass. And so when you work from that perspective and you see the world through a positive lens, you begin to see the positive. I mean, look at how people are coming together like this. We think, oh, well, we can't go anywhere, we can't be in person, and that is sad. But it will change. We'll figure it out. It'll happen again. In the meantime, people are discovering nature. People are discovering time with their children. They have time to do things that they would not have done before. My goodness, I learned how to macrame. So I just feel like there's always something positive to look for and to find.
I agree. I've been saying ever since this pandemic started, when they first did the shutdown and everybody had to go home. And if you ask people prior to the pandemic, what it is they wanted to do in their life, well, I'd really like to do this, but I just don't have time. I'd really love to learn a new language. Man, I just don't have time.
Right.
I'd love to find a new hobby, but I'm so busy. And then by the third day of the shutdown, all you saw on social media was, I'm so bored. Oh my gosh, I don't have anything to do. I'm like, you did everything you wanted to do in life. You got it done in 3 days. I tell people all the time, if you get to the other side of this pandemic and you haven't learned a new language, haven't developed a new hobby, haven't achieved something that you always said that you wanted to achieve, if you can't do that, then it was never about time. It was always about desire. You said you wanted to do it, but it was a pipe dream.
That is exactly right. And I think people think that I approach the world with a childlike enthusiasm, and I think they're right because First of all, I always expect a yes if I ask somebody to donate or to help, or if I'm looking for donations of any kind, things like that. I don't ever think that I'm going to get a no or that something's going to be negative. But sometimes I can be hard on myself. Just like you said, we all do it. And not too long ago, I'm getting my doctorate in psychology, and so what I have found is, if you really think about it and you think about how we speak to one another, how we speak to friends, how we speak to children, but then how we speak to our own selves, there's a vast difference. And so I've actually, this is my advice: talk to yourself out loud like you're a child. Like, so you would talk to 5-year-old Clint. If you do something you didn't mean to do, if there's an accident or you messed up, it's okay. Just be sweet. Be sweet to yourself.
I've often said that if we just treated ourselves nearly as nicely as we treat complete strangers,
Oh, yeah.
that we would already be halfway there. I mean, we'll walk right down the street and look at somebody we've never seen before and smile at them and ask them how they're doing, or at least acknowledge their presence, but we'll smile, complete stranger.
Mm-hmm.
Yet we'll look at ourselves and beat ourselves up. And even worse than that, we'll walk past a stranger on the street, be completely polite to them, and then walk into our own home and walk past a loved one and not even say hello.
Right. We need to smile more, and we need to speak words of affirmation and be kind. You know, in these room transformations, we always put very affirming type decor. So I'm very careful, very cognizant of the fact that maybe an uncle told his niece, "You're beautiful." And so I don't put things like that in the room that say, "You're beautiful," or, I'm very, very careful. We'll put things that say, "You are strong, you're fierce," in girls and boys' rooms, so that then they're seeing that. They see these wonderful words of affirmation on the walls. So, because we don't know how much negative is in their lives or what's going on or what's in their head. So at least they can wake up and see, you can do it. This girl can. And hopefully it helps them.
If somebody wanted to help you, either by volunteering or providing financial resource, how would they go about doing that?
We have on our website an area where you can click donate. On the main website, you can click donate. If you are in a specific area and you want to donate to that area, you can donate to, for instance, Sacramento, California, Fremont, California. Whichever area you're in, you can donate, and you can become a recurring donor or donate, as a one-off. We prefer recurring donors, obviously, because these room transformations are $1,500 to $2,000. So with recurring donations, we know that is coming in, and we have children we can take care of. I mean, we have a list of 8 children right now just in New Braunfels. This pandemic and quarantine, there are going to be a lot more outcries come fall when children are able to go back to school and teachers are able to see them and talk to them after they've been sequestered, essentially, with their abusers.
Yeah.
We need to all be very, very aware and keep our eyes open and report any suspect of abuse at all.
I believe without a doubt, God puts people in our path for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that He has put you and your organization in our path, and we're going to find a way to work together in the future. And it's my hope that the people who listen to this podcast will run out to roomredux.org and find a way to help support your organization as well. And it has absolutely been so cool to have you on the podcast today. It's been a blessing to spend some time getting to know you.
What a pleasure. I appreciate you so much. And I love what you and your wife do. I love your foundation, and I love being here. Thank you.
What a significant and meaningful thing Susie and her organization Room Redux is doing in the world. She truly is a good person out doing good stuff. All right, everybody, it's about time for the challenge. Before I give you the challenge I want you to complete before you come back for the next episode, I want to remind you that this episode has been brought to you by Let's Talk Smack, an app that provides daily nudges to take your social media game to a whole new level. If you're wanting to have a more engaging presence on social media, either personally or professionally, you need a plan, and the Let's Talk Smack app can do that for you. Check it out wherever you get your apps. And now for the challenge. I want you to block some time to go to roomredux.org and check out what they are doing. While they may be in Texas, you'll see the various chapters in California, Colorado, Georgia, Minnesota, and New York, with soon-to-come chapters in Florida and Louisiana. They are a relatively new nonprofit, and they could use some help. Whether you are willing to give your time, your products, or your financial resources, find a way to help their organization. You never know. God may put it on your heart to start a chapter in your own state. Regardless of what it may be, let it start by making a quick visit to roomredux.org. Well, that's it. The end of another episode. Whether this was your first episode or you've been with me for all 10, I could sure use your help reaching a broader audience. If you've enjoyed what we're doing and want to help us build the show, we could use some ratings and reviews. All the podcast listening apps are different, so I can't tell you exactly how to do it on yours, but somewhere on the app is a place to leave a rating. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, and our stats show most of you are, it is very simple to do, both at the same place right there on your screen. Your rating or review could help us reach someone who just may need a little tell me something good to help them through their day. And here's how much we want you to leave a review. We're giving away a Tell Me Something Good gift package to one lucky winner who leaves a review. That's all you have to do to be entered, is leave a review. Also, visit findthegoodinlife.com for links to join us on social media and to share your good stuff or ask questions for the podcast. Thanks for listening. Until next week, I'll be praying for God to bless you in mighty ways. Now, get out there and love on somebody.
You've been listening to the Tell Me Something Good podcast. The content of the podcast is meant to engage, encourage, and enlighten you to become more positive. It's not meant to diagnose, treat, or replace the personalized care provided by a trained professional. If you're struggling with depression or mental health issues, please reach out to a counselor for diagnosis and treatment. Until next time, be positive, people.